recording here. I'm going to set a timer for, let's just say 14 minutes. We're on.
It's been a while.
Shoot, I forgot to turn the heat off.
Uh-oh.
Okay, keep them company.
I don't know how long ago we did a podcast. Maybe 8 months ago? 10 months ago? One of you out there actually might have the answer, but needless to say, it's been a while. So, Ben, turn off the heat so we could freeze. It's all good.
It'll help with the background sound. Man, I feel like it's so cliche for podcasters to talk about how they haven't podcasted for a while and then, like, promise to podcast more.
I mean, if it's true, it's true.
It's true. Okay. You wanted to smoke this one tonight?
I think so. Yeah.
I was decided I was going to match whatever you do.
Cool.
I feel like these cigars are our motivation to get us starting this podcast again.
Ooh, I haven't had experienced much hate over cigar smoking in a while, so hopefully we get some nice comments.
You mean online?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully not, but JK.
It's generally, you get more hate than I do, right?
Do I?
I think so. Did we not lock that door? Dude. This is killing my podcast vibe right now. Trying to be a good father. But how am I supposed to tell people about how good of a father I'm being when my kid comes in?
Oops. I locked it the first time, and then I went out again and forgot to lock it.
Oh, that's really delicious. Oh. Okay. Man, I actually thought about a little section for our podcast where we call it, I forget what I had a catchy title for it, but it was basically where you talk about how hard it was to get started on this episode. Because there's like so much stuff. Like,
yeah.
We haven't podcasted in forever. I've wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. You haven't seemed very motivated. Is that true?
That is true. Every time I've actually done a podcast with you, it's been usually like rewarding. Like, I'm like, oh, that was cool. But to actually get me, but when I just like think about doing a podcast, I'm like, So, but
finally, I was able to talk Tammy into it this week.
Yeah. I think I like supporting you, and I also feel like it's kind of fun for me too.
When I'm gone with it, I love it because there's always cool stuff to talk about. Basically, like, this is a conversation I wish... You know, I've been listening to more podcasts lately. Mm-hmm. Not a lot, like, but one a week. And every time I have it, I'm just, like, so glad. And I'm like... I know not for everyone, but I know for a few people, I've heard that we really help keep them company and that they think about the same things we do. So then I'm always like, I don't know. It's not that hard for us to do. Like, I mean, it doesn't do itself, that's for damn sure, but we have the equipment, we have the time.
Yeah. It's the hardest to get into the swing of it again. And this is the first time in a while. So, but when we have it kind of as like part of our weekly thing that we do or whatever, it gets easier.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into it, huh?
You're listening to the Fight for Together podcast.
Okay, I think the intro just ran.
I heard it.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
through there. Okay, I couldn't hear it. Sorry, technical difficulties.
We got some kinks to work out.
So, all right. Mm-hmm. Tonight's topic. Pronouns. Very personal topic around our household.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
For this last year. And, man, I don't know where to begin. Except, do you want to make the official announcement over podcast land?
Sure. Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to remember when. Sometime this year. Do you remember? Oh, doesn't really matter.
Let's just say 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt that I started following this non-binary person, and through that, I just started to really kind of go on this like self-discovery journey with my gender and what I felt was what helped best express who I am. And I realized like the pronouns she and her like didn't feel right for me. And then looking back, I don't feel like they ever really felt that right, but I didn't know that there was any other option. Like I didn't have a penis, so it was like I'm not a he, so I must be, you're like told at birth this is who you are. These are the pronouns you use. Even though people don't even really talk about pronouns. It's so funny how they're talked about now, because back in the day the only way that pronouns were talked about is you learned a set of them in school. Right?
Like you didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice. Yeah, there was no like, how do you feel? Like, how do you move about in the world? Like, what feels good to you? And so I just felt like I really wanted to be honest with myself and with the world of like, hey, I don't really like she and her doesn't feel like me. And the only other options are, well, actually, this isn't true. There's other options, but the other, I guess, like a non-binary option to say like I don't fit into the binary of male, female, is they, them. I think other people, there's also people that use different kinds. I'm actually not even very schooled in that. It's like just different ones, but they, them is like the most common, I think, non-binary excuse me, pronouns. And it was like, man, I went through like a whirlwind of emotions. I feel like they are starting to settle now, but I felt like imposter syndrome, like, hey, maybe I'm not really this. Like, why would I think I'm this at 41 years old? And this is where this other person's like account really helped me, because they kept affirming like this actually exists. Like this is my world, and I could see myself in them.
When you say this exists, what exists?
Someone who doesn't feel like the binary is where they fit in the gender binary. Like it just, and it's very hard because it's like an intuitive thing. And
gender binary meaning male and female.
Yeah.
And bi means two, so two options.
Two options.
So there's
right.
more than two options now.
I mean, I believe that now. And as I look back on my experience moving through the world, I could see myself like I got like really uncomfortable with certain situations when people would peg me as like a woman or girl. And this is, but for a long time.
Can you give any examples?
it just didn't feel right to me. It's kind of hard.
Like if I'm like, go to the bathroom and you have to go to the women's bathroom, that doesn't feel right to you?
That was probably like, it was more when people would call me girl, call me woman, you're a female, blah, blah, like that kind of thing. Now, like, I don't think I was that aware with like the bathroom thing back then.
You have some interesting stories about identifying as like a tomboy when you were younger.
Yeah, and it's kind of confusing for me because, and this is where imposter syndrome kind of comes in for me, because there's a lot of like people that would still identify as she, her, female that are more masculine, like that's how they move about in the world, like, or they're just like, I don't know, but they still feel like they're, so it really isn't like an outward thing.
So can I want to clarify this, at least get your opinion on this, because I think this could be, I don't know. I remember hearing about this like 6 years ago, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, how complicated does this need to be? And they were like, there's gender and there's sexuality, and they were like drawing this differentiation. And you're doing this too now, and I think it's confusing as fuck.
Yeah.
But, okay, so tell me where I'm wrong about this. If you have a penis, you're a man, and if you have a vagina, if you're born with a vagina, or what is it, XY chromosome?
XX for vagina.
Okay. If you're XX, then you're a girl. It doesn't matter how you feel. These are scientific facts, right?
Well, I would say there's a difference between gender and sexual, like difference between gender and genitals.
Okay, so that's the first important distinction.
Yes.
And I think that was important for me to get, and I still don't even fully get it, except for the fact that, okay, so you can be born, no one's arguing here about whether or not certain people have penises or vaginas.
Right.
No one's arguing here whether or not there's scientific facts around chromosomes. Of course, I do give you shit about this because I feel like sometimes some people in this community are tending to emphasize the feeling and the choice side and de-emphasize the scientific fact side. But
yeah,
okay, so I'm sure it's possible to swing too far. But what you are experiencing is that just because you're assigned this chromosome, this genital, there's almost a role that one begins to play, which is this full package deal, which goes way beyond like having a period or having a child.
Yeah.
It's like the colors you wear.
Yeah, I would say that this is not the role. I mean, the role, this is where it gets really hard and confusing. I would say like that someone is actually more born with this feeling of like non-binariness, or born with this feeling that I'm a female, or born with this feeling that I'm a male. Then like just the role, I do think makes it even more confusing for people to like really like, what do you feel? Like what is your intuition about this? But I actually don't think it's the role, because like I said, you could totally feel female and not fit into the role of female in society at all and be totally cool with that. And a lot of people
I'm really
do that.
Confused. What did you just say?
You can feel like, and know in your gut, I am a female. But you, let's say you look kind of masculine, but you have a vulva.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm saying the role thing gets confusing, because there's no like look that a non-binary person has. There's no role that they even play necessarily, or like different people who are actually identify as female or identify as male don't necessarily adopt a certain role. I do know that there's a role pushed on people
Holy shit.
in society.
I'm confused already, but
okay.
But
I'm trying to separate that because the role doesn't make you something.
Okay. So what's the big deal with if you're a woman or if you have female genitals and chromosomes, then why is it important not to be called she, her for you?
It doesn't capture the experience I feel inside. It doesn't match it. I don't feel like I'm that.
So when people say she, her, what do you think that is? What does that capture?
Yeah.
Because I think part of this also coming from knowing you is maybe some of your religious background too, but not only religious background.
Yeah. What does it capture? Well, for me,
like if I was to call you she, her, what do you think if I was like, hey, she is beautiful.
It feels oppressive to me because it feels like you're saying something that I don't feel like that's who I am. And it's been told me my whole life. Like, this is who you are. Like, I don't know if that's what you're asking. If you're asking for more tangible, like, this is what a she is.
Yeah, in your mind, what is a she?
I mean, because this is a tricky question because I actually think a she is, like, really broad.
Okay.
But I guess the typical is they like to wear dresses. But see, I don't even think this is true. Okay, because a lot of she's don't like to wear dresses.
Okay, but this is in your mind. I'm just saying.
Sure. Okay. They.
And by that you mean she's.
Yeah, I know. She's. That's
this
weird.
is so annoying. Oh my gosh.
Okay. What? In my mind, I'm like picturing some people I know that epitomize like a she-ness, like delicate, gentle,
like don't like sports.
Yeah, don't like sports.
Like cooking and
like that. Yeah, that's sure.
Making their house look beautiful.
Yeah, like shopping at Anthropology or
fucking what's Pinterest?
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, loves throwing nice birthday parties for their kids. Love shopping. I mean, I don't know.
This is tricky because like
really
you
tricky.
say, like not everyone. Of course, no one's saying
a lot of
every woman does that. But then, and this is where I do think part of it is roles.
Yeah,
is that we create these roles in our head because that's all it is. It's like categories in a way.
Well, for me, like saying I'm non-binary and feeling that and saying and sticking by it and saying it honors parts of who I am that I don't feel like saying I'm a she, her would have felt like it honored.
Like what? Okay, so tell me what well, shit, maybe we should just keep on telling the story.
Yeah.
Because we can get lost in this and I don't want to we're not fucking experts in this, right? I'm not.
No.
Okay.
No.
And there's probably so the story, you came out like 6 months ago and kind of said, hey, this is what I feel.
I feel non-binary. I would like my pronouns to be they, them, although, yeah, anyways.
And that's a bit of a
huge shift.
That's a transition because you and I have been together for 21 years, really probably 22 or 23. Mm-hmm. In my mind, I love the fact that you're a girl / woman / female.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to say, like, I still feel my feminine parts. That sounds really sexual. But
damn, tell me more.
But I still feel feminine in some ways. I feel masculine in some ways.
Okay. But, yeah, but anyways, all that to say, I loved seeing you. I mean, I'd call you. I remember like our earliest love letters. Mm-hmm. I'd say like, you're my girl. And I'd sign it like your boy.
Yeah. And
it was kind of this romantic, like opposites, like it's the ultimate in celebrating the binary. Like, I'm a boy, you're a girl. Like,
right. Let's get together.
Let's get together because a relationship is a boy and a girl. And and when you did this, like made this announcement at least, there's a part of me that's like, the first part of me is like, what a fucking pain in the ass. Like, it feels dramatic. Mm-hmm. It feels superfluous to me because I haven't been frustrated by these categories. Yeah. Personally.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure as hell frustrated by other categories. That's for damn sure. But these categories in particular have never felt oppressive to me. Mm-hmm. Which actually isn't entirely true because there's ways where I get lumped in with being a male that I do not feel aligned with at all.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, call me a they. That's going to solve it. That's just not my go-to.
Yeah.
So the first reaction is like kind of annoying because it's like, okay, why do we have to like change something that's working for me?
Yeah.
Which is pretty like, okay, I get it. That's a little bit selfish, but that's the first reaction.
Yeah.
And how that manifested itself was like, I think I had to deal with like denial / acceptance and kind of mourn this language and label and idea that I had about you that was really pretty convenient for me. Mm-hmm. And the way I did that was by very quickly, you and I have been through so many changes by this point that my general philosophy is, I mean, we've just applied so many labels to so many people our entire damn life, mostly wrapped around religion, that were so harmful to them and to us and prevented relationship. And were basically mechanisms of control that I just didn't have the balls to be like, no, I'm going to continue to call you a she because my confidence in this area. Every time I've put a label on someone, even labels that are true. And that's where like, it could be a true thing, right? Like I could argue, well, you still have a vagina. You still have, is it XX? I can never remember that shit. You still have these chromosomes. I'm going to put this label on you and use it.
Yeah.
But if I really want to have a relationship with you, like, I guess I would wonder, why is it so damn important to me to control how you call yourself? I mean, if you decide to change your name, that'd be annoying as fuck. But I'm assuming you're doing it for a reason. Same thing with pronouns. It's pretty annoying.
So far, I'm still Cammy, though.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Dude, you should change your name to Cammy with a C.
Oh.
That would really fuck with people.
No. Yes, but no.
Ooh, CAMMY.
No.
Oh.
No. Or actually, is that worse? CAMMIE, I think, is the worst to me.
I didn't want to insult you on the podcast like that.
Hopefully there's no
Cammys. But I was like, pretty soon, I was like, fuck. I have to get on this bandwagon or I'm going to either control you, which I don't want to do, or lose you. At least in this area.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. So I decided, we had a family meeting about it, and we made the announcement to the kids, meaning you did. And I said, listen, guys. And they all kind of made fun of you, which we were all making fun of you. Because
I mean, it's hard when you don't understand something. The easiest thing to do is poke fun at it, and it kind of helps you. Yeah. And so I get it.
I've called you babes for 22 years. So then I started calling you babes.
Which is funny because babes would be totally fine with me still. But this is sort of like,
I think it was my own way of
like, okay, fine. I'll call you babes now.
And I was like, you know what? I care more about our relationship though. I don't give a fuck about the scientific accuracy or whatever. I have a feeling we are in the middle of a big transition sociologically that I believe there is progress present. Now, as I've already stated, I do think it is possible to swing too far the other way. And there's a lot of people that I respect very heavily that are pointing out the fact that some people on, what is it, the left, I guess, like
They're making it into a fucking religion.
Yeah, they make it into a religion, and then they're like
a moral thing.
They're like, oh, you're oppressing me if you don't do this, and get on board. And basically, I can't tell if they're actually doing this or whether it just comes across as doing this.
Yeah.
Of they're erasing the validity of the scientific aspects, and they're saying they're kind of just emphasizing the choice side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a hard time with that, but I do think that the choice, that there is some degree of identity that we get to choose. You know, I mean, and there's like, as I was like weighing into this like 5 years ago, there's a huge realm of the population, and I say huge because I think it's larger than anyone thinks, where it's categorized as like either hermaphrodite or intersex or mixed genitalia, even chromosomes.
Yeah.
And these people like scientifically do not fit into a binary.
Yeah.
So we can make sense of that.
Right.
Well, actually, I don't know if we can, because quite often what they do is they
fucking chop things off,
surgically correct it, quote unquote,
when they're like a newborn,
and they basically make them fit into a binary world. So you can see from I knew enough from analyzing that scenario that it's oppressive to some people. Yeah. Like there's people born through a way, and you could call it a defect if you want, but I don't know who gets to decide that word. I think that's even a term of control and oppression, to call someone defective. Yeah. And then you you start chopping things off, and you say you're a boy, because I can't sit with the fact that you don't quite fit into one of two categories. So to make myself feel comfortable, to make society feel comfortable. Yeah. So I already knew about that.
Yeah.
When I hear that, okay, your experience,
it's more of an internal thing. Like, I don't have mixed genitalia. Newsflash. But it's an internal thing. And I do think that's also maybe even harder for people to understand, because it's you almost just have to like trust the person, you know, like, oh, their experience as they move around the world, like, you have this experience and it's different from mine.
I'm really glad you don't have mixed genitalia. Just want to say.
I mean, maybe we would have fallen in love just the same. You never know.
I'm really glad you don't have mixed genitalia. Just want to say again, I don't have to repeat myself, because you're invalidating my feelings and experience now.
All right.
No offense to people that do.
There. I think that's why I felt like doing that, because I didn't want to offend anyone.
Shit.
But.
So, okay. Where were we?
Did we finish the story? Pretty much. We told the kids.
And there was a negative backlash there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it was hard for them. I remember one of the kids saying to me, I feel like you're not on our side anymore if you're no longer a woman. And that, do I need to stop? Okay. And that was hard for me to hear, because I was like, I don't see it that way. I mean, I understand. I think I understand what they mean, because I had my own morning of like, I mean, it sounds weird because I chose this. Well, did I choose it? I don't know. Anyways, I feel like I'm honoring for the first time like my inward experience, but there was a part of me that felt I was mourning this, like, oh, I can't call myself these things anymore and fit into this like woman camp or like girl, you know, because that's a huge camp. Fuck. I mean, people are like wild woman and girl power, and you know, and there's the boy camp, and then it's like they camp's pretty small.
Fucking losers. Pick on you guys.
I know.
Yeah, well, you know, and this is why, I don't know. Okay, like I said, I don't feel this way. Of course, I will be honest. I feel more this way than I let on, because I don't feel like a dude.
Yeah.
But I just don't care enough to be called a they. Like
Yeah.
if someone calls me a he, fuck. If someone calls me a she, I just don't give a fuck. You can call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
The racquetball guys call me. Well, I probably can't say it because
Yeah, you better
there's
not.
like certain words that are like fucking. Will get you your ass kicked. But it rhymes with gag. And
Yeah.
and I just don't care because those labels roll off of me. And maybe it's because that in our culture, both spiritually and on a business perspective, I think males are given more opportunity than females. So like in a way, being referred to or seen as a dude, a guy, a him is like actually a benefit.
Yeah.
And everything I've heard indicates I have to just like believe, like, and I see it, but I don't feel it.
Right.
I don't have the experience of being oppressed as a female.
Right.
That you have less,
Or
you're taken less seriously.
You're in a female body or whatever.
Yeah, you're taken less seriously. And in our world of church, you're actually told to submit. You're told to be silent in certain contexts. You're told that your role is relegated to having children. You're told that you're less good at processing and making decisions, and you run off your feelings.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. You describing that. That makes sense. Yeah, so I definitely have had to like mourn and grieve like these certain aspects of this. Like I felt like I belonged, and now I don't really feel like I belong. Like I belong. I mean, but there's ways that I feel like I belong to myself now. It's weird. Like I'm like, okay, maybe I don't belong to a group very well. I mean, I know there's non-binary people out there, but as far as just the bigger, society wise, I don't belong to this big group. But yeah, I'm owning my inward experience for the first time. And I feel like there's this really valuable thing when you step out of the binary as like with your personhood. Like I've just been able to I just see things now.
Okay, I want to come back to that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's super rad. And that's kind of like the present future, but still talking about the transition a little bit. I think, okay, so there's this, from sociological perspectives, and I've talked to my friend who specializes and works with like handicapped / disabled / specially abled people, and our own experience of being ostracized from religious communities. You see it with race and whatever, that oftentimes there's a blaming of the victim that happens. Okay, I'll just speak to the church because I've seen it so fucking often. Someone leaves the church, their entire spiritual community that they were raised in from the day they were born and told that this is right and you are going to heaven if you stay here and hell if you don't. And all these people are your entire lifeblood. And when people like that leave, when we left, because we felt like if we didn't, it would kill us. It was like an absolute last resort. In fact, we didn't leave. We got kicked out because I was so, even though it was costing me my health and my finances, the hell?
Sorry, we need to turn on. Oh no. We're having technical difficulties with the camera.
Talk to him for a second.
Okay. Well, I can talk about the thing I was talking about before. Yeah, so there's some things that have been really hard, but then on the more, I feel like, positive side or what's interesting to me is because I've stepped out of this binary and I can see how truly binary our world or like the way our culture is, and how we like genderize everything, and how like in some ways that's really helpful. In some ways I've noticed it's actually can be really harmful. This may sound like silly to some of you. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little insecure in talking about it. But Even with our language, like, hey, you guys, can you come see me right now? Like, that's a gender, but we've like pushed it into this category for everyone, but it's not inclusive. And I still say it, but I've noticed things like that, and they're everywhere.
Okay, I still disagree with that.
Disagree with what?
That it's not inclusive as a blanket statement.
Because that's not how people use it?
Yes.
Or...
Now, I agree that it might have its origins in some sort of gender.
Yeah, I think it does.
And it can be used in an exclusive way. But
yeah, I
don't disagree.
Well, this is the thing. Language is powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I have noticed, I think this is my gut instinct. Okay. If people use more inclusive language, people will feel more included on a subconscious level.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Like, I actually think that people don't even realize how much those things make them feel excluded.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I just think it can be taken too far.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to correct someone and be like, hey, don't say guys. I mean, I think that for me personally, I don't want to do that because I feel like,
okay, but you kind of done it to
me. Okay, you might be the exception just because you're like my person. But
okay.
So like, if I have a feeling, I'm going to tell you about it. But I try not to do it that often.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I get it. Like, I still use it. It's hard. It's very, very hard to change your language.
Fuck. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, hey, yo, bitches, people, robots, things. Yeah. Let's go. Get in the car. I don't care what you are. I want you in the car because I want to go like 5 minutes ago. And I'm not trying to genderize anyone. It's just like convenient.
I don't think you mean anything by it. But this is the thing. Like, if the whole culture starts shifting, it actually kind of like starts waking people up to certain things.
Yeah.
And people start feeling seen and heard.
Which comes into another topic of like, who wants to fight this battle? But I want to finish this other thought when I went to go fix the camera, which is that when you look at like how like we victim blame, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so in church, people would get kicked out of their entire community, and then the church would point the fucking finger at them and say, you're just trying to get attention.
Rub salt in their wounds.
It's like, oh my gosh, like, could you be any more wrong or dense? And you see that it's actually...
And they're speaking about an experience they haven't had.
Yes.
Too.
So it's designed, it is like more simple. Like when you have someone that doesn't fit in, it's annoying as fuck to be like, you know, okay, like your entire existence challenges my way of living.
And the simplicity of it.
It's like nice to have just boys and girls. It's nice to have like everyone believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God who came to earth and died, all these things.
Yeah. And
so when you have someone that switches from that belief, it's so much easier to write off their experience so you don't have to deal with it.
Right.
By making shit up, basically, to say you're doing it to get attention. But in my experience, I was scared to death of this other belief. The last thing I wanted was this type of attention. I didn't want to like leave the community. I didn't want to be excommunicated. I didn't want to be friendless and accused of all these other things. Like I just wanted to fit in, but I couldn't. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, on the gender side of things, I just think it's so much safer to assume that when people are going upstream against society in certain ways, and I'll say this, you know, maybe not with people like me because I get a certain degree of energy out of challenging the status quo. You do not. And I knew this about you. Like if you could fit in, you would. Mm-hmm. So by the time you get to actually vocalizing and telling our family you want to be called something different, it's like been eating at you for possibly years/decades. And by this point, you're desperate.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting like emotional just you talking about that, because I actually think you're right. Like when I have someone that says the pronoun that I prefer, I like get emotional. I'm just like, whoa, like you care, like you see me, like this hasn't happened in 40 years. Like that's really fucking cool.
And I think what you were saying, which I really like that topic of, I'm not against binary thinking. Mm-hmm. I think it has its place.
Yeah.
It's convenient as hell.
Yeah.
It worked. There's a truth to it. Like, generally speaking, there are people that have penises. There are people that have vaginas that are girls and the boys, and they have certain roles and they do things. But when you apply that simplicity across an 8 billion person population, there's always going to be fallout, no matter what that binary thing is. And we experience this all different ways, from saying, like, you're either a Christian or you're not.
Yeah.
You're going to heaven or you're hell. It's either good or it's bad.
Yeah.
And you're either part of this family or you're not. And, like, all I know is all of that type of trying to fit people into my categories in my life it's been pretty oppressive. It's not serving or loving them. Yeah. It's usually done because I can't handle the thought of a third category.
Yeah.
Or beyond.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see, like, the shift in our culture, because I think it kind of shows that there's like because you said the binary has worked. I mean, I know, worked, air quotes, whatever, it's worked. It's probably what our species needed to get to where we are today, or whatever. I don't know. But are we now at the point where maybe there's a bunch of us enough of us who don't need the binary to be this way? Like, we can expand it, and then therefore let people feel for the first time in their life, like, oh, I don't have to be one or the other. Like, I am who I am.
And instead of forcing someone or something to fit into a category, you actually start off with curiosity. And I think maybe I'd like to talk a little bit about how you operate now and what you've noticed that's changed. Because, like,
yeah,
I mean, simple things like even like the baseball hat or our sex life. There's been some pretty radical changes that have all, I don't want to say it just came about because your pronoun changed.
No, I just think the pronouns and the baseball hats and the cutting my hair and dress, like, not just saying I don't like dresses. I'm probably never going to wear one again. Maybe. I mean, don't want to wear one now. I mean, maybe I will for you, but
you started wearing a fanny pack instead of
fanny pack. Like, all those things are just symbols of me accepting me. Like, this is who I am. And I'm finally feel, whether it's where I'm at personally or my environment around me, I finally feel safe enough to, like, show those things. And this is the other part of the story I didn't share, is I stopped wearing baseball hats at like 12 years old. And I think at that point I went through some like traumatic stuff. I think at that point it was just safer for me to be like, fit into the fucking binary, Cammie, just fit in. And now I just feel like I don't have the need to fit in that way anymore. In fact, I have the need to, like, show my true colors. Like, this is who I am.
And from my perspective, like I said, I think them pronouns are pretty fucking annoying. Like, it doesn't sound natural or right for me to say it.
Yeah.
Or think of you that way.
Yeah.
But shit, you being yourself is a massive turn on. It's like super rad and cool. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't care about the words.
Yeah.
But whatever words help you be more authentic, honest,
yeah,
real, expressive,
yeah,
less afraid. I don't give a fuck like what we call you or what you want to be called.
Yeah.
I'll call you whatever it takes to bring those things out.
Yeah.
And having you show up in our relationship and to the kids, as a parent, as a friend to people I've watched, as a songwriter, has been really rad. And I know it's related to you wearing a baseball hat and a fanny pack and not feeling the pressure
Yeah.
to act like the role of woman in our society.
Right.
Or whatever's in your head.
Right.
And it's been really cool. I mean, I wish we had more time or could get into just like examples, and some of them might be too explicit for here. But there's just like a different energy about you too.
Yeah.
You've accepted parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll speak about this from a sexual perspective. We had a very like traditional sexual dynamic in that, and I don't think this is so much male female, maybe as much as I don't know what the hell it was, but I would pursue you and you would be passive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want that. I didn't like that. And like I said, I don't know if that's just gender related, but I think gender was part of it. Mm-hmm. But as you've started to accept or like disavow some of the female role and accept more of the male, there's just this different energy where you've been matching me lately. And you like pursue me and you take charge. And I mean, like, it's always been, I mean, here's one example. I've always held you. Our entire marriage for 20 years. I'm the comforter. I'm the stronger dude. Like, I'm the Prince Charming. She's the damsel in distress. I mean, part of this is exaggerated, but I think those mentalities are kind of into it when I hold you at night, when we cuddle in bed. And in this last 6 months, you've started holding me. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
and I don't think that's a coincidence, right?
No way it's a coincidence, but it's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's empowering for me, and maybe for you. Like, for you, it's like you can actually feel these other things. You don't have to be on call all the time. You don't have to be the protector all the time, the strong one. Like, I can take over for now. Like, you can be off duty for a bit. You know, it's just like
it's cool. It's more fluid. It's more evolved. It's more. I mean, shit. Like, okay, yeah, we've been doing this thing for 20 years. It's like, I mean, it's great, but it's like. Gets boring. And this
time
thing,
to change things up.
Well, this thing doesn't just feel new. It feels more real.
Yeah.
We're not like making it up. It's not like you're putting on a cop costume and spanking me and be like, here's the handcuffs, bad boy. And we're not role playing.
Yeah.
We're actually allowing parts of ourself that are naturally inside that were never allowed to come outside.
Yep.
Because I thought, first of all, Cammie I never thought she wanted to hold me. I always thought she always liked this role. And I thought, does that make me seem less of a man or more weak, less of a person?
Yeah.
Too needy if I let you hold me and if I just like relax and let my guard down. Mm-hmm. But there's a big part of me that just wants to be held sometimes.
Yeah.
And I still like holding you too. It's not like we just like stopped.
No. And I still like being held. Especially
because you suck at holding me when we sleep.
Oh, yeah. The whole, like, side holding thing.
I can spoon, but I'm always bottom spoon.
I feel like my neck is all, like, cranked up, and your, like, wiry hair is, like, right in my nose. And I'm like, ugh. Okay, basically can do it for, like, 1 minute, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. No, you rock at that, and you said you're going to teach me, and I don't know.
You kind of gave up yesterday after, like, 2 minutes.
Hey, 2 minutes is pretty good.
I think with an attitude shift, you could really excel at it.
Yeah, maybe. Willing to take a crack at it.
So, I don't have a whole lot to say here, except for I did think maybe we'd I'll read this comment that we got over Fight for Together's Instagram, because I told you like you deal with this.
Yeah.
And
let's do it.
You can respond. Do our camera one last time.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you posted something recently, and then on Fight for Together.
On my personal?
Yeah, but then you reposted it on FFT's. Mm-hmm. And it says, shoot, did the person delete it? Can they do that?
Well, maybe you could can you remember a little bit of it?
It was, you have to read it.
Dang it.
Because I can't find it. Damn it. It was basically like,
give a little bit of the flavor.
How do you feel like not being a mom or having sex
What?
or something. It's so weird.
Oh, that is weird.
But
yeah.
honestly,
But,
it's
I mean,
it's some of the motivation that helped me to get my butt in gear to record this episode.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people...
That's a good question. Well, that's not a question. Or it is a good question.
I honestly think maybe it was a question.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good question for, like, did I stop being a mom when I realized that I'm non-binary? Can moms be non-binary? And I think, yes, they can be non-binary. I still feel that I am a mother. I don't think that needs to be mother. So that's another thing where people just assume, which I totally get, that mother is only for she, hers. And I say,
once again, this gets confusing as fuck because there is a scientific reality that you're only a mother if you have a vagina, right? In a way, biologically speaking.
But like if you, no.
Fuck me.
Because you could be a transgender woman, and you could maybe not give birth, although maybe you could give birth, but maybe not. You adopt, or your partner gives birth.
Okay, hang on. We don't have enough time to get into that.
All right. So, but yes, but I gave birth to 6 children, and yeah. So,
okay, but one of the other things she said, she actually said the word intercourse as if like, oh, we must not have intercourse anymore. And I just found that fascinating because even what we shared about us holding each other, to me, there's a way to see the emergence of another category that you might not understand as intimidating, threatening, scary, like saying like, oh, your genitals or sexuality or gender doesn't matter.
Oh, right.
Just like I think maybe with black people, I don't know this for sure, but I think with black people, when they started to get more rights, white people, some insecure white people are like, oh, what does it mean? I'm not special. I mean, they didn't say that out loud, but why are they fighting it so damn much? It's because they're insecure.
Or did you not like being a woman? Or women, like, was it like devaluing? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
so insecure people are going to, they get their validity off of a second class society of people.
Or whatever identity they've taken on. Yeah.
So, but the opposite is also true. When culture and society evolves, like I think there's an opportunity for all of us to grow. And I guess what I'm saying is our relationship, our sexuality, our sex has gotten more interesting, more nuanced, more rich, more diverse.
Yeah.
Because of this, I don't know. That's all I want to say, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was scary at first a little bit because every time you let go of something, that's simple, you're like opening the door to something that's a little bit more complex. But the payoff could be higher too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think I feel like realizing or embracing or talking about the world as maybe there's more than just 2 genders, or there is more than 2 genders, really actually gives the opportunity for even the 2 genders to be less oppressed. And to be more valued for who they are, not just the gender you are.
Because even if you're a man with a penis, I think there's feminine aspects of men.
Yeah.
It's not 100%. Like, we're not all 100% manly, monster truck, testosterone. Like, men have estrogen, women have testosterone.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we oppress those parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, as a teenager in high school, I wrote like 600 letters, mostly to girls. because I didn't feel like I could relate to men. Like the dudes in my life like didn't want to talk. I wrote them letters, they wouldn't write me back. So I'm like, fuck you, assholes. I'm gonna write to someone that'll write me back and wants to talk about their damn feelings and watch Titanic, which was me. So I found that hanging out with women was more, not even in a sexual way or romantic way. I just felt like I could relate more.
Right.
And that was like maybe
those parts of you were heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could call it feminine side, I guess.
Yeah.
And by accepting this third option, I'm accepting myself in ways I didn't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think believing that someone like me exists, like a non-binary person, shows that there's probably so much more to people who walk around as male and female than we realize. I mean, I just think it's way more expansive than we understand right now.
And the language, if it works, if it helps you, great. But I don't think we should be slaves to the language.
No.
And I mean, at one point, geez, I can't even think of an example right now, but I think of like all sorts of like stupid shit like Hicks would say like 200 years ago about science or gender or tobacco or health. And it was just like so close-minded that it's just like basically anti-progress.
Yeah. Support
your damn ego on some fragile thing.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thanks for creating this space for it.
You weren't. I brought this up to you like 2 months ago. You didn't want to do it. I mean, I think you would have, but.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely felt more ready now. It still feels really nice to talk about it. It makes me realize I have the ability to talk about it. I do feel like I shy away from talking about it because, generally speaking, most people I run into, not all, at best they're like, "Can you explain this to me?" And at worst they're like, "I don't get it," you know. And it takes a lot of energy, right, for me to be like, okay, do I want? Because I normally don't have energy to try to convince anyone, so I'm just like, but I do have energy to put stuff out on Instagram because that's not as like in my face like with a person. So that's been a cool outlet for me to just talk about this on Instagram. And
so if people want to follow your Instagram, they might get more stuff about this.
Yeah.
And your Instagram is
Cami Crawford.
CAMMIE.
No. Hell no. KAMICRAWFORD.
Great.
That's where you'll find me.
Okay, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Our big fucking podcast
Huge.
Return tour.
Yep.
Believe it or not, we are going to try and record more.
Yeah.
So if you like these,
we're trying to do it every Tuesday.
Yeah. And leave a comment on YouTube if you want to talk about shit.
Yeah.
You can rate it on iTunes. It's helpful for us. And fucking like and subscribe and all that bullshit, whatever. If you want to support us with our work, Cami has an album that's available in our merch store. Or like on Spotify and all that. We'll put the links below. And I also have a book that you can check out. These are the projects that we've put out that
you have 2 books.
Pay our bills, yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Anxious to hear what you guys think about this podcast format in general.
Anxious to hear what you all think. I just had to slip that.
This happens like all the time where I'm like, I actually really do correct myself.
Oh, I don't correct you very often, do I? I was doing that as part of a joke.
No, it's great. It's a funny joke. But it's also like
tedious.
Well, yeah. So this is the thing. Okay, I just want to say this last part because it's such a cluster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like writing this. I like to write sappy shit about you on Instagram,
and
I like to be like,
yeah, that is hard.
Man, this girl blew my mind today, and post a little picture of Cami. But now I'm like not supposed to. So I'm gonna be like, this they
Or
blew
you
my
can just
mind.
say they
And then
blew my mind
yeah,
today.
I say they blew my mind. And then I get all these comments like, who? Are you talking about her boobs? Do you have multiple lovers now? And I'm like, fucking A. Like, it actually is a hard thing. Like,
Yeah.
and it's,
Like your go-to is no longer there.
well, but I've had
And
this
then-
discussion with you about I just want to use she
yeah.
because it's simpler.
Yeah.
And I understand it's not moving the needle on culture and society in this way, but I don't really care about that. I have all
Yeah.
these other battles I'm fighting,
Yeah.
which I think are still about tolerance, still about acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're still in process of
I just trust you're doing your damn best, right?
which is really cool.
And it's like if you need to make a post that's with the wrong pronoun, fuck
With
it. Whatever.
a simpler pronoun.
Yeah, totally. Well, the pronoun that isn't going to give you a bunch of shit online, and I get that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for listening to Fight for Together. We'll see you next time.